Wedding planning is difficult because every situation is different, especially given COVID. And you naturally have questions. So today we're doing something a little bit different and answering your questions. And today's questions are all centered around one main thing: your guests and communicating with them. Hi there, I'm Jamie Chang, your destination wedding planning guru and designer of joy at Mango Muse Events, the creator of Passport to Joy, the step-by-step online wedding planning course for couples, and the founder of Let's I Do This, intimate and virtual weddings in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I share real and honest and useful wedding planning tips, tricks, and advice you can use to help make planning your wedding easier and more joyful so you can create a wedding you love. Because let's face it, wedding planning can be really, really hard, especially now, and sometimes downright painful, and nobody wants that. So we're bringing the joy back to wedding planning. Are you ready? All right, so let's dive in here. Let's do this. Now, today we're doing something a little bit different. I'm doing a little COVID wedding Q&A and answering just some of the many questions that you're thinking about and facing right now, when it comes to guests and communicating with them. Because, there's a lot to deal with when it comes to planning a wedding during COVID. And one of the biggest pieces are your guests. And not just the guests themselves, but what to tell them about what's going on and what you've planned. So let's start with question number 1. If you're having a small wedding, how do you tell family and friends that they're perhaps not invited? And how do you deal with their disappointment? So honesty is really going to be key here. And honestly, honesty is going to be key in all your guest communication. Because with everything going on, you're making the decision that makes sense for you. And all you're really doing now is communicating that decision to your guests. And when you're honest, when you're sharing really what you're doing and why, your guests will understand. Yes, they might be a little disappointed, and you will feel some of that. You definitely will, when you tell them, when you inform them of your decision, but they can't fault you, for making a safe and what is a tough decision. So don't feel bad. Don't feel bad about making the decision that you've made. Remember, you're doing what's right for you. So how do you tell them? Now, if you had a previous wedding planned, so something maybe in 2020 or even in early 2021 that people, perhaps were notified about that then got, say, postponed or downsized or what have you, you'll definitely want to send like a mass communication. In this case, probably email is going to be easiest. So a mass email to let everyone know so that they're just not waiting on you and sort of waiting on what's going to happen. But if this is just a decision that you've made not related to a previously planned wedding, you can do a few different things. So email is definitely one way to go. And for many, that might be the easiest. You can reach out individually or send something out to groups of people, perhaps, extended family or colleagues or friends. You can also call people. People really enjoy that too, especially now, and especially your older guests that, perhaps you're very close to. And you can also text, which can work really great for friend groups. Or you can just let people know when you talk to them next, whether that's over email, whether that's over phone, whether that's over text. It doesn't have to necessarily be an announcement, if you will, in the traditional sense. Just letting people know as they ask or as it comes up will work out great. Okay, let's move on to question number 2. So if you're thinking about having an anniversary reception or sequel wedding, should you tell people that, you're thinking about it even if you haven't quite decided yet? So this question actually very much relates to the first, because as you're informing guests of, your choice to have a smaller wedding, the question may come up just sort of naturally. Are you planning on doing something bigger later on? Now, if you haven't yet decided, you want to keep your answer honest, but undecided as well. So you can either say something vague, like, we're not sure, or I don't know, or we haven't really fully thought about it yet. Or you can tell them the truth, that you are thinking about it, but you haven't really made a decision yet. Either way is okay. But if you go with the second option, you might have to listen to someone encouraging or convincing you to do it. And if you want to avoid that, keep your answer vague and sort of non-committal. It won't give them as much to go on, and it will just make it easier to ease out of the conversation if that's just not something you feel comfortable discussing. Okay, question number 3. Can you require a vaccine to attend your wedding? And how do you ask people without upsetting people? So this is a biggie question that's just on sort of everyone's minds right now. I recently wrote a blog post about this as well, which you can find below. Because, with the vaccine rollout and it actually happening, you knowing people who are actually getting the vaccine and it becoming a bigger and bigger thing, there is a real hope that you could have a wedding with perhaps 100% vaccinated guests. But this requires your guests to participate. So can you ask this of them? Yes, you can. But once again, it's about being honest. You want to explain why you've made this decision and also just make sure you give people an out. Let them know that it's okay, if they don't feel comfortable attending, whether that's with a vaccination or not. Be respectful and understanding. Explain your decision, but also give people just the space to make their own decision without judgment or guilt. Because that's what you want, right? For the decisions you've made for your wedding, and that's what your guests want too. Because everyone's situation is different and everyone's comfort level is different. It's very personal. So you want to be prepared for people to not attend when you make this request. And just don't be hurt by it. It's not about you. It's a completely personal decision everyone has to make for themselves. Because when it comes to guest communication right now, it's really just all about being respectful and honest. And because we're all just sort of making the best decisions we can make for ourselves and our situation. Your job really is just to communicate clearly with your guests so that they have the information that they need to make the decision for themselves if necessary. Okay? All right, I want to wrap this video up with a question, and that's really just, do you have a question, whether about guest communication or otherwise? If so, leave it below in a comment below, and you might get your question answered in an upcoming video. And if you liked today's video, please like it. Give us some thumbs up. You can check out our other videos for even more tips, and please hit subscribe so you can get access to all the new ones. And if you're looking for help through the entire wedding planning process, including having access to a personal advisor, check out Passport to Joy. You can find all the links below. Because you deserve to enjoy your engagement, no matter what your budget is, and even in the middle of a pandemic. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you next time. Bye!